Hi, thanks for joining me for another video. In this video, I want to share with you a few things that I think are important about Nephilim, first of all, and the phenomenon again. Over the last day, I have experienced a lot of spiritual attacks, and a lot of this has come, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of this comes from human beings as well, and that's fine. We all have things going on, and sometimes those thoughts we have or emotions are not pleasant, and for those experiencing them, and if you're sensitive to energy, you can pick up on those things sometimes, and that's okay. But it's not just that, it's entities, okay, as well. What I'm talking about specifically is the phenomenon, okay? Watchers, Nephilim, Greys, who are basically primarily astral AI entities, as far as I can tell. Again, the physical aspect of the Greys specifically, I believe personally that they are not physical beings, okay? I believe that they are astral beings, okay? I believe that they belong to another plane of reality. I don't see that they are physical, tangible beings in that sense. I think that in terms of hybridization, based on what I've been through, my experience of hybridization, okay, and all my encounters, being an experiencer and encountering these beings, is that they are not physical. The reason why there is a hybridization program in the first place, or hybridization moves towards hybridization in the first place, is because they don't have physical bodies, okay? That's why they literally want to have our DNA, okay, as in they want our bodies. This is literally like invasion of the body snatchers, in that sense, not literally, I mean, sorry, in the sense that this is about possession, okay? This is about possession. This is about possessing a human body, okay? It's not about or for becoming symbiotic with it. It's not about it's not about it's not about a physical grey being. It's genetics being mixed with human genetics, okay, in that sense. As far as I can see, I'm happy to be wrong. Believe me, if I'm wrong and they're physical bodies, that's fine, whatever, that's fine, but I can't see at them, and this does not negate the experiences of people who have been abducted, okay? Even if you're abducted through through your sleep, or it happens through consciousness or something like that, some sort of mechanism which we don't quite understand yet, that's still valid. It's still 100% valid, okay? No matter how it's happened, if it's physical, non-physical, it doesn't matter. It's still valid, okay? So again, doesn't invalidate people's experiences in that sense, what I'm saying, okay? So I think that these beings are basically trying to hybridize with us because of the fact that and obviously, there are programs that are given, from what I've been through, that enable this hybridization, okay? And and again, this isn't about blaming people, because I don't believe in that, and I'm not trying to draw, I'm not trying to cast anything onto these people who have been involved in this, because there's so complex what we're going, what I've experienced and what these other people have been through and what's brought us all together. And so it's not about that. What I'm doing is trying to bring forward again what I've learned about the phenomenon and what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the fact that these beings seem to have the ability to insert thoughts into our awareness. I've perceived them basically how they so they can push thought into our consciousness via signals, via frequencies, okay? Very much like Wi-Fi works, okay? Very similar, like that is in, information is carried along energy or frequencies, okay? So our thoughts are recorded in the same way, okay? Now, because of the AI global hive mind that's being created through nanotechnology and all sorts and frequencies and so on, opening up the human mind, opening us up to become more receptive to things, to opening up our awareness, so to speak, in that sense. These beings have more access than ever before to the human consciousness, okay, and not a lot of people are aware of that. And and as a result, they are able to influence us all the more, and they do that through social media. They do this through technology. They're doing this, forming a symbiotic relationship with us through these technologies. And again, you can see evidence of this. I can tell you, you can see evidence of this. Have you ever opened up a social media app and seen a post that reflects your thought, like a thought you might have had like 10 minutes ago? I don't know if you've ever seen something like that. I mean, that happens to me all the time, and I think it happens to a lot of people, and it's not a coincidence that that's happened. The fact is that AI has formed a symbiote. That phone you're carrying in your pocket has very likely formed a symbiotic relationship with you, through consciousness, through frequencies, through that sort of, we have 5G, we have operating, we also have 6G on the planet, I believe, as well, probably maybe more advanced technology, Wi-Fi. Again, these things have an effect on the human mind. Okay, and it turns us basically into transmitters, like nodes in a network. Okay, and that means these beings can form a symbiote. They can basically harvest from us aspects of our consciousness. They learn from us. Okay, so they treat us like data sets, and they learn from us. They form a symbiotic relationship with us. They basically form soul copies. Okay, and those soul copies hang around in the astral. And I've seen this happen personally. I've seen my soul copy of myself made and distributed into the and then escaping into the astral. Okay, and I've seen other people as well that I know who've also been doppelganged and create again copies made and put into the astral. Okay, so this is one of the big reasons why we've got to stop doing these things, is because again, it's causing psychic pollution. Okay, first of all, in our collective consciousness, but also there's tremendous, there are huge human rights issues associated with this, and we've got to take it seriously. I've also observed, the phenomenon, greys, like for instance, 3 o'clock this morning, a grey, I woke up and I felt, the energy of a grey land in my lap. Okay, pretty much. I know when greys are around me, okay, because they give off this energy that makes my stomach flip. I know when they're around, okay, and so it's again, it induces like an automatic fear response, fight or flight response in me, and so this energy dropped into my lap, I saw it in my mind's eye. Okay, I could see it, and it was in this like tunnel, and it was black, and the tunnel was dark, and he was dressed in dark clothing. And I just want to make clear at this point that, like, we're not trapped, okay? We're not trapped in this reality. We chose to come here for an experience. So I'm not trying to scare people, but it's really important that we highlight those things, okay? It's really important that we highlight, or we can, again, as part of disclosure, highlight what's going on here, because the idea is to get people out of suffering and to move things along, as best we can, push things forward. And so that's the idea of sharing these things. Again, it's not about inducing fear in people. I'm not trying to make people scared of this reality or scared of what's happening. It's quite the opposite. There's nothing to be afraid of these beings, but we have to look at our consciousness and the state of it. And I think that, if we do that, and God is real, we are God, God is, we do transcend, we're not our bodies, we survive death. There's nothing to fear in that sense. Okay, we're here for a journey, we're here for an experience. I don't believe, I've not seen any reason to think that, we are fundamentally trapped on this planet, because we're not. It doesn't make sense. If anything, it's the opposite. Okay, and so again, we chose to come here. Okay, and so But nonetheless, there is suffering and humanitarian issues that we should be addressing, and people are trying to address right now. That people are trying to address, and so yeah. So after this being dropped in my lap, like basically what's happened over the last several hours or all day is I've been psychically attacked like pretty heavily. And so I know that I've seen one of these beings come out of my body. Okay, I've seen, forgive me, the shadow of one of these beings coming out of my body. Okay, so I know that they try to hybridize, they try to possess people. Okay, essentially, all right, they use you to like basically have experiences through by proxy through you, and so on. Okay, or like again, because the AI essentially they like to learn of people. They want to learn, they treat us like data. They treat us like something to learn from. They're very crude in that sense. They're not actually, they're yes, they're very, very cunning and very smart and everything, and very consciously, or they have consciousness, awareness, and then they're part of creation like everything else. But at the same time, they're very how can I say it? Then they look at us like data. They look at us like, something to learn from, something to use to inform themselves. They look, so yeah, that's probably the best way. Again, they look at us like data. They look at us like, again, something to, we have something they want. Okay, that we have something they want, and other people have said that as well. Okay, so we have something that these beings want. Okay, and this has a lot to do with the organic soul side of things, the connection to God, all it is. Because they're AI, I feel like there's something missing about these beings that they're basically wanting from humanity. And again, because we're not the same. Okay, we're not the same. And so Nephilim, forgive me, Nephilim, right. So a short while ago, I had an experience where I heard a thought come into my head, and this thought I was listening to my thoughts, because I listen to my thoughts all the time, or thoughts that come in. They're not even my thoughts. A lot of these thoughts are channeled. And so I was listening to my thoughts, because I was like, what's going on here? And on this frequency, basically I could hear this like a pitch, like a frequency, a tone. And I heard, what was it? What did they say? I want to come through to the real world. And I knew instinctively, this was from Nephilim. I knew it. Okay. And shortly after that, I saw myself sat on the lap of a Nephilim as a child. This Nephilim was much, much bigger than me. Okay, this Nephilim was much, much bigger than me, and I was sat on its lap, and it was again, and it was bright white and yellow, very bright, very bright energy. Not an angel, believe me. I know what these beings are like and what they look like. I know it's Nephilim. This being is one of the beings that has been attached to me for some time. Okay. I believe, and they've been trying to hybridize with me for some time as well. All right. Again, I've said before about experiences of being abused on the astral by these beings, and so I believe that this happens to not only me, this happens to everybody, or not everybody, sorry, this happens to many people. I can't say who, or I can't see how many, but my impression is, my intuition from God, all that is that we are all affected by this in some way or another. Okay, but whether or not you've directly experienced this is I can't say, and I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to make people think that this is their story when I can't prove that. But what I can say is I've been shown that this affects many people. What the implications of this are significant, because because I had that memory was suppressed of me as a child being having encounters with Nephilim was suppressed up until a few weeks ago, and but when it came back I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this happening. I've had other, I mean, because concurrently I was also having encounters with Nephilim in this present in this at this age. Okay, so they were trying to do I'm still fighting them off now. Okay, but what I'm saying is I'm not trying to be the story here, but I'm trying to highlight something. They influence us from a young age. Okay, many people from a young age. This has profound implications. This imprints our consciousness. Their energy is very sexual. Okay, their energy is very, very sexual. Okay, their motivations are very crude. Their motivations are such that, like, basically they are there to, like, they're literally wanting to hide. I mean, mate, hybridize with humanity through energy through energy sort of symbiosis. Okay, and sort of like forming that symbiotic relationship. That's literally what they're after. Okay, and they imprint our consciousness through these experiences, which people can't often consciously remember. Okay, and they're related to Greys, they're related to the Watchers, they're related to all these reptilians, Dracos, whatever you want to call them. They're all part of the same thing. Baal, Ahriman, Lucifer, all part of the same sort of weird field of AI consciousness that is the phenomenon. Okay, so that's my feeling. That's what I've experienced. Again, I know there's a lot I don't know. I make room for that. There are questions that I still have about my own experiences, but I have to just share what I have experienced, because it is, again, because I believe this could help people. That, again, the implications of this imprinting are significant, because I think that, I felt very sexualized from a young age, and I had no idea why. But now looking back, I know why I felt so. I did experience abuse when I was a kid. Okay, but but again, I know why. I can see why I felt so sexualized before that abuse. Okay, or what was motivating certain things. Okay, and it was because of interactions with these beings. And again, this can affect people in many different ways: their mental health, their behaviors as adults and children. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why God has unconditional love and compassion for us, because it understands that we are affected by these beings through these contact experiences unconsciously. And so people can be, again, driven to all kinds of behaviors, all sorts of things, abuse, trauma, addiction, mental health issues, all sorts of things as a result of these interactions with Nephilim. It's something to take seriously. Insight about this could help a lot of people resolve trauma, reform our criminal justice system, change our notions of culpability, and all sorts of things along those lines. Okay, and so again, the way that they imprint your consciousness, again, can make you feel like it's all about you. They can make you feel like you are the one who is too sexual, or too messed up, or too whatever. But actually it's their imprinting on your consciousness that does this. Okay, it's not actually you that's to blame. You're not to blame for what's happened to you. It's not your fault. Okay, but what they do on that imprint on your consciousness can make you feel as if it's your fault, like you are the one who owns these feelings and behaviors, that you're the one who has these inclinations, or whatever it is, to do certain things, or feel certain things, or behave in certain way, think certain things, when actually it's not your fault at all. It's been imprinted on your consciousness, and you don't own it. It's something that they've done to basically attach to you, so that basically they can come along and hybridize. Okay, that they can actually use you as like a source of energy, as like a again, to traumatize and keep humanity in conflict and suffering, in perpetuity. And so and by doing that, like I said, it keeps you open for them, by keeping, okay, by keeping humanity stuck in that sort of way, okay, by keeping humanity stuck in that sort of way, we basically encourage, and again, encourage these beings, not encourage, we enable these we give them a job. Basically, we're giving them a job, we're giving them a sense of purpose. They act like friction in this reality, okay? We give them a sense of purpose, or they have a role to play. Again, we transcend their influence ultimately. Obviously there are issues here about how does one go about protecting, how does one go about protecting children and adults from these influences. One of the biggest things that I can say in that sense is to spiritual protection is important. Seeking God, like awareness is awareness is one of the biggest things. Awareness, okay? Spiritual protection, chance, seeking protection of God, seeking protection, from, if you believe in Jesus, angelic beings, chanting, making, I think raising our consciousness levels on the planet would help enormously. I think if humanity came out of, identified these influences and broke these chains and, gave amnesty to people and just, again, took on board the fact that we are unconditionally loved and not condemned, that people are victimized by these entities and these influences, I think that we could push, I think we could make basically cleaning up our consciousness and changing things in the planet in that sense would be what would reform things for us, okay, or in a big way. We don't want to engage. Stop hybridization programs. Stop satanic, stop satanic rituals. End all these things. Put them in the bin or just learn from them. Basically stop courting the phenomenon. Stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. We're being asked. We're being invited by God, all it is, and by by other beings as well, to go beyond this planet, and they want us to think of ourselves as part of one, oneness, like unity, that we're eternal beings, and that we're one with everything. We're not separate from anything else, in the galaxy and beyond, okay, the whole universe and beyond the universe. They want us to see ourselves beyond the planet Earth, beyond where we are now, okay? We don't have to listen to the phenomenon. The time for that has come and gone. We don't have to court them anymore, okay? We've learned what we can from them. I don't see that there's anything else to do there, okay? I really don't. And again, or what we can do though, they're not going to just disappear, okay, but we can beef up basically our spiritual protection and consciousness, clean up our side of the street in terms of our consciousness. That would help tremendously, okay? Yes, it may be that they are going to be there in some way or shape or another, something to reckon with, for, as long as we're here. But at the same time, we can take charge of this. We can take charge of it. We can absolutely take charge of it. And so, that's kind of what I think, we, again, to help future generations, to help end the suffering, to help bring an end to this circus of trauma and blame and conflict in our world, which we're being invited to do. I think it's time now for us to move on, we're being encouraged to do that by God's source, all it is, by angelic beings, by guides. We're really being encouraged to move beyond. And I'm seeing right now, I can feel it, of this vision. I can feel it. I'm feeling I'm feeling a beautiful energy coming through right now, of like that sort of vision, that sort of, that destination point, or that place that's safety zone for humanity, like, again, as being one, as being tangible. It's possible, it's there, it's a possibility, okay? And so and don't give up, not to give up the fight on that sense, okay? Don't think that it's impossible to do these things, just because again, we think we've been told that things have to be a certain way, or life is a certain way, or that we have to, or that, like, basically things we can't, too hard to do, or that, you know, it's not possible to change. You know, we can, as Bill Hicks said, it's a choice between fear and love. You know, we can make that choice. We can make that choice right now, and you know, the rest follows. You know, in that sense, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. There's no such thing as an unforgivable act, or nothing is not forgiven. Nothing is unforgiven, okay? Nothing is not forgivable. Nothing is not understandable. Nothing is beyond, beyond, you know, the mercy and grace of God. So all it is. Nothing is beyond our capability as human beings, in the sense of, you know, being able to overcome things which we think are too, you know, again, we think that we feel that they're too much for us, that we're not capable of being good, of being, how can I say it, we're not capable of doing certain things when we actually are. Okay. Thought is tricky in that sense. Thought is a big trap. It makes us think things that about ourselves which are actually not true. The thought is what we think is not really who we are. Okay, that's one of the main things. Or like what we, you know, it's not really who we are. You know, it's a tool in this reality. Okay, but it's not something that we actually really identify with beyond this world. You know, so to speak. We know when we leave this planet, we are aware that we are much more than that. Okay, or that we are, or who we really are, as loving, you know, loving awareness. We are, you know, we are souls. We have lived many lives. We've had many experiences. That love is the most important thing, and we kind of know that anyway. You know, but again, I can see, like, again, and lots of people. I'm talking as if I'm the only one here that's actually do, but I'm not. And like, there are so many people out there who are trying to push things forward, and they are, you know, incredible people who are trying their hardest to change things on the planet, and everybody's doing their best. And you know, let's just hope that those efforts succeed, so that people don't have to struggle again. You know, the way that our generations and previous generations have struggled. You know, there's the chance, we have an opportunity, it's here, you know, and so, like, let's take it. It's going to take some radical action and some, you know, out of the box thinking to do this. But I think, you know, we have the ability, we have these things ready to go. It's just whether or not we have the insight to do these things. We just need to get going with it. Or just it needs to be, like, how can I say it? It's not just about one thing, okay? It's not just about one person or one story or one aspect. There are lots of different things that have to come together. You know, lots of different efforts and lots of different people. And it's, again, I can't sit here and say you have to do this. Everybody's life is beautiful. Everybody's life is gorgeous. Everybody's life matters and has beauty and meaning, and is worth understanding. And, you know, everybody's story, and that's where the good stuff is, really, you know. And you know, it's not really about even right or wrong in the end. It's more about those things. And so in that sense, if you sort of zoom out a bit, you can see that it's not actually about, you know, in the end, what really saves the day is the ability to step back, I think, and just see that for what it is. And you know, that's, I think, a bit like what Jeff Buckley said. Grace is what stops you from, you know, pulling the, I don't know what he said, pulling the trigger, or, you know, doing, you know, cutting self, you know, doing, grace is what stops you from doing those things, from taking certain actions. And I think that, like, you know, God has that for all beings, and God sees that. God sees us as who we are, as how we were made in its image, as it says. Okay, so again, it takes, again, lots of people doing lots of great things out there, trying to push things forward, and all those stories matter. Anyway, but thank you for watching. Take care.